Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Bahamas Power and Light Company Limited. Thank you very much for joining us for what we hope will be an enjoyable time together. Let me first acknowledge the high and mighty in the room, the Minister of Public Works, the Honorable Alfred Sears, the Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of Works, Mr. Pedro Rolle, both of our chairs and our CEO Whitney Hasty, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Works, Luther Smith, Undersecretary, hi there, guests, the board members that we are here to chat about today. There may be some absences for the new board. I understand that at least one member of the new board is traveling. So I'll just leave it to Pedro Rolle, the chairman of the new board, to introduce the new board members. But the outgoing board members who are joining us are the chairman, Dr. Donovan Moxley, Ms. Robin Ogilvie, and Ms. Deborah Wood. They're out there with us now. I see members of the press and some of the BPL executives and union members. Welcome, all of you. Thank you very much for joining us. I'd like to call to the podium to officially welcome you and say a few words. The Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Whitney V. Hasty, CEO, if you would come. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Parker. Let me just say a very pleasant good afternoon and welcome to Bahamas Power and Light. As always, it is certainly a pleasure to have not only the minister in the house, so thank you for being here, Minister, but certainly on this occasion where we have a new board being seated and an old board that has served leaving, we're more than happy to have not only the press here, but certainly everybody here to see this really great occasion. BPL has certainly a history that is short, but that is long-lived. I think the individuals who would have labored before under Bahamas Electricity Corporation has made it possible for us to be here today. And so as I stand as the current CEO of BPL, I just want to take this time to welcome everybody to what has been a really long journey, not only for the company as BPL, but also the corporation as Bahamas Electricity Corporation. I'll not belabor this, but I hope that certainly the future, as we continue to work together for one, reliability, and two, reduce costs to our citizens across the archipelago, is something that we all can work together to achieve. It is not an easy job. I think one of the things that we have learned is, certainly I have learned, that having a single island nation is very, very different than having an archipelago of nations, or an archipelago that has a number of islands that we service. And so the people and the employees of BPL has done an extremely good job in trying to make sure that we continuously service these islands as best we can, trying to be not only reliable but cost efficient in doing so. So once again, welcome, and hope that you enjoy your brief stay here at BPL. Thank you.
Thank you, CEO. The mandate for BPL is affordable energy, safe, affordable, reliable energy. That's what the Electricity Act calls on BPL to produce for its service, for its customer and service area. And we've striven hard to meet that goal, particularly under the strategic plan of the outgoing board, which has worked wonders, we believe. And so we look forward to working with the new board to see what wonderful new directions we will be able to strike out in. I wish to introduce to you a man I know well and from way back. I know him as an artist, and I also know him as a politician. I was a journalist long years ago before this happened, and he was a bright star then, and I think he's one of the big shots now. The Minister for Works and Utilities, the Honorable Alfred Sears. Minister.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Parker. Artist. I'd like to my colleague, the Parliamentary Secretary, the Honorable Barker's Rolle, the Permanent Secretary, Mr. Luther Smith, to the outgoing Chairman of BEC and BPL, Dr. Donovan Moxey, the incoming Chairman, Mr. Pedro Rolle, and to our CEO, Mr. Whitney Hasty, and distinguished ladies and gentlemen. This occasion is an expression of the democratic process. And we exercise this democratic process with maturity and with respect, because we are all building a nation state. And I wanted to have this occasion serve as an expression of thanks. That is to say thank you to Dr. Donovan Moxey and the outgoing board of these two public entities. And I'm delighted that Ms. Deborah Wood and also Ms. Robin Ogilvie, I don't know if any of the other, okay, and in their absence, I want to say thank you to Stephen Holowesko and also to Vianna Gardner and also Mr. Ferron Bethel. When I was appointed on the 20th of September, I shortly thereafter met and had numerous conversations with Chairman Moxey. There were a number of very complex transactions in train, one of which was the rate reduction bond, and the second involves the fuel hedging strategy of BPL. And we had some really intense briefings and clarification with the Ministry of Works and Utilities, and also involving the Ministry of Finance. And this process was very useful, because you could imagine a group working on these transactions over 4 years, and then I come along, and in 2, 3, 4 weeks, I have to understand and appreciate, so that in my role as the responsible minister, I would be able to inform, advise the cabinet with respect to the policy decisions. It also occurred at a time after the general election when the energy policy of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas would have shifted, because in the blueprint for change, as well as in the speech from the throne, the government made a bold declaration, and that is to put renewable energy as an indispensable part of the power generation for the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. In fact, the government committed itself to achieve 30% of the power generation as comprising renewable by 2030. By anyone who knows about power generation, that is a very, very ambitious target. But it is one that we have to and we must achieve. Having lived in a time where 1/4 of the GDP of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas was destroyed within 3 days, September 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, in 2019, when our compatriots in Grand Bahama and in Abaco, many of whom washed away to sea by 20 feet waves, 185 miles an hour wind, something in our lifetime we had never seen. It left, and I was in Grand Bahama 3 weeks ago, it left Sweetings Key without a dock, Water Key without a dock. Many of the homes destroyed, the public infrastructure such as schools destroyed. And as I traveled through East Grand Bahama, people who were holding spouses, children, and had them washed away out of their arms and never saw them again. We don't have a choice than to build resilience, because the next time it could be Nassau. And if we don't build the resilience, if we don't shift in terms of sustainability, and as the Prime Minister noted in Glasgow, while we contribute the least to climate change, we are the most vulnerable. We are the most vulnerable. Therefore, it is a matter of survival. This is not any regular business. This is where we are fighting for the survival of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. So the government was clear, and that is the mandate that BPL, BEC has to meet the emergency of now, the necessity of now. And I have no doubt that building on the work of the outgoing board, the board that the cabinet has selected, will achieve. And I'm standing here in the front of the press and the social streaming to say that I am confident that this board will achieve and get us as close as possible, and possibly even beyond 30% of renewable. We have no shortage of renewable energy in the Bahamas. It's right out, I mean, we could look outside and see it. I mean, the sun, how do we harness this energy so that we reduce the cost of electricity? How do we ensure that the plus over $1 billion that we spend every year on fossil fuel is reduced? And how do we ensure that we have a more reliable and robust distribution and transmission system? And also, how do we ensure that we can serve all of our islands and keys, everybody, not just the critical mass in Nassau, New Providence, and Grand Bahama, but all of the disparate parts of this country scattered across 100,000 miles of sea. And that is the extraordinary challenge this board that you're meeting today. Pedro Rolle, who will be chairing the board as the executive chair, has several decades of experience in the financial services sector, and currently is in Exuma, his home, paradise, that's what you call it, as president of the Chamber of Commerce, but is also an entrepreneur, and will be leading a very talented board. The deputy chair, Mr. Daniel Ferguson, a leader in financial services, has served as the president of BICA, which is the professional body of chartered accountants in the Bahamas, has been an administrator for Patelco, controller, financial controller, and also in private practice for many years. Brings a wealth of experience also as an entrepreneur. Mr. Errol Davis, who I can say is the expert in power generation. Yeah. And as you say, I heard someone say, welcome back. He is known to this organization, having led the power generation of BPL. He is an engineer by training and an entrepreneur, someone who I know in another setting as an entrepreneur in the marine resource area, and someone who has been looking at the issue of renewables and how it ought and could be integrated into our system. Mr. Anthony Farrington is not here. He is traveling, and he asked me to convey his apologies. Miss Reneika Knowles, also an entrepreneur who has worked and is working in a number of business areas as an entrepreneur in real estate, in the transportation area. And I like the fact that we have some young people. You know what I'm saying? A diverse board, because the succession, and also I know Miss Reneika Knowles has also been very much engaged in technology and working in that area, and will bring that perspective to the board. Mr. Dirk Simmons is a financial professional. He's worked in the offshore financial services industry. He's worked with a number of the offshore banks as chief financial officer, and he currently serves as the CFO for Playtech Systems, and I know also very much involved in the technology business. Ms. Cheryl Simms is an accountant and partner at Kiki Baracus & Co. And I had the opportunity for must be about 25 years working with Ms. Simms. She is a forensic specialist. We worked together on a number of liquidation matters when she was a manager at Deloitte's. And she and I worked together not only here, but also in Singapore. And I know that she brings a wealth of local and international experience. Miss Nadia Storr, another young professional entrepreneur, has established herself as a logistical specialist and also as an entrepreneur in the electrical supply industry, and also very much involved in technology, and brings a wealth of business experience, logistical experience, and technology experience. These persons will serve as the board of BEC, the statutory corporation, and the sole shareholder of BPL. And they will also serve as the directors for BPL, which is a company under the Companies Act and has the responsibility pursuant to the energy policy set by the government to deal with the generation of power, the distribution and transmission of power, and as the CEO said, in a safe, affordable, and the Act also says sustainable. We're putting that emphasis on the sustainability of the generation of and distribution of power. So it gives me great pleasure on behalf of the Prime Minister and the Cabinet to thank the outgoing board and to welcome the incoming board. And I just want to say that Dr. Moxie has been great in briefing me. When I informed him that Mr. Rolle will be succeeding him, he also briefed Mr. Rolle. And I just want to say that that's the kind of maturity and cooperation that I certainly appreciate it, and want to say thank you again to the outgoing board, and to welcome colleagues who are coming in. Okay.
Folks, I believe the time has come to hear from the new chairman, the incoming chairman of the board, Mr. Pedro Rolle, good old Exuma boy.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's not just good old Exuma. One of the things we think is when you say Exuma, you can make it simple. Always just say paradise, and everyone will know what we're talking about. I have to put that in just in case folks in Exuma are listening. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Minister, Sears has certainly given the overarching responsibility and challenge that this board will face. So on behalf of the incoming board, we are here just to say publicly that we accept the challenge, not because we think it's a simple one or an easy one or things will go smoothly all of the time, but we think it's a necessary challenge. Where we are is not good enough, so every succeeding year we must find ways to ensure that we offer sustainable, and from the Family Island this is critical for me, that power deliverance must not be just centered, it must be a national issue. How we do it, what ways we come about in doing it is going to be critical for this board in particular. And so we accept the challenge that's before us. But we are aware too that delivering efficiently and economically and clean energy to the Bahamas is more than just something we talk about. In order to make this happen, the greatest asset that we have at BPL would be the men and women who are instrumental in delivering the power, right? So it is our goal in ensuring that we work together, that everyone get a clear understanding of what the vision of BPL is, what the challenges are, what can we do together to ensure that the entire Bahamas receive clean, economical, sustainable energy. That's a lot of things to try and accomplish. We talk about 30% by 2030. Whatever the challenges may be, we can't afford at this stage to say it's too hard. Because this planet that we have, it's not all we've got, right? So we need to find a way to make it happen. And if it requires that we train, that we focus some of the assets of BPL, then that's what's required. Then that's what we must do. But the challenge is real. So we're just here to say thank you so much for all that you do. This board will work with you to ensure that the mandate of BPL is met every step of the way. Over the next few weeks or so, we'll get to know you personally. We'll get to have conversations with you. We'll get a better understanding of what the present challenges are. We'll look at the reports from the outgoing boards, and we will determine how best to move forward, right? Because at least we are building on a foundation. Our goal now is to see how we can continue to build on that and make it better and more sustainable. Thank you so much. We look forward to working with you in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Rolle, Member of Parliament for Paradise. The Minister and the Chair have consented on prior occasion, thank you, sir, have consented to take a few questions, as well as the CEO and the outgoing Chair. The press is invited to ask questions that are relevant to what we are here to talk about today. Anything out of bounds, you all know how it goes. I see you squinting, Chester, don't blame me. So the floor is open for any questions you may have at this time.
The hedging strategy is about to
Stand and ask your questions.
Sorry, Dirk from the Tribune newspaper. The hedging strategy is about to expire. What's going to happen after it expires?
All right, so Yuri asked, he says the hedging strategy is about to expire. What is going to happen after it expires? And who are you directing that question to, sir? The Minister and the new Chair.
There have been a number of discussions with the outgoing chairman and the Ministry of Finance. The hedging strategy is financial arrangement which helps to stabilize the price of fuel. That